Hello and welcome back to the Late Stage Comedy Podcast. Every single day this month, we'll be chatting to one of our fantastic performers who are joining us for Leicester Comedy Festival 20. How are you doing, Angela Arbor?
I'm good, thanks. I'm very good. I'm wearing my green tonight and my brown hair. I'm normally blonde because I'm off to an Irish bar tonight to do a quiz. So I'm busy.
Oh, fantastic. Basically, I just want to chat to you to find out what drew you into performing. So I think we should start at the top. Why did you get this desire to stand on stage and entertain people?
I've always done it. I've always done it through my life. I'm 22 and the same again. So it's been a while, but I got in there early in my late teens. I was in bands and I played music and I liked that. And people seemed to like what I was doing there, but not enough to make any difference in my life. So then I got a bit later on in my 30s, took up some acoustic guitaring stuff, met a lot of comics, at which point I then thought, hang on, that's clever. You can do that. And started writing comedy songs. And then that was with my very sensible manager, Andy. And then in the lockdowns, I decided to come to the fore, stop Andy getting on the stage and do it myself. I've always wanted to do it. I like making people laugh. I like meeting new people. I run my own nights too. So I like supporting the scene too. Yes, very social. Do like,
Yeah, fantastic. So because of this performing background, do you think your comedy takes in elements from all of these different disciplines?
I'd hope so. I hope so because my show itself is full of songs, some original, some parodies. The jokes are all over the place. I am a teacher of the primary school variety, so I know a plenty of jokes that might make you cringe, but may also make you laugh. Also got some more adult ones too. I do my best to mix it up.
Oh, fantastic. So I wondered, did you ever have some comedy heroes or inspirations that pushed you into going down this route?
I think what happened during the lockdown was I was experimenting with ideas. And although I would always give some tribute to like Lily Savage and perhaps
Mm.
some of the other drag icons of the past, also character acts like Mrs. Merton, I always thought she was very good. And I could do that. And my dad was like, you could do that. Let's have a look at that. Because I love to chat and I love to pun and I like making people feel uncomfortable occasionally. It all comes together like that. So, yeah, like character acts in particular, all the sketch shows of the past, Mighty Boosh being a favourite, that kind of thing. I just like weird, slightly wacky, slightly out of the blue without necessarily being blue, though blue is good too.
Oh, yeah. Have you thinking more of the modern scene? Are there any sort of comedians on the circuit right now that you think deserve more attention, or people you think are doing great things that should be looked out for?
Absolutely not. No, I'm kidding.
No, no.
I put on people on gigs all the time. I'm just trying to rack my brains to think of someone to big up right now. But I would say someone like maybe Alex Stringer. She's really good. She's
Mm.
done some good stuff in the last year. She's up in the Manchesters. She's performing at Bring Me to Queers, which is my new night, which is happening in Liverpool. And another guy, Nathan Virica, he's very good, very dark, very sardonic. That's the word they use. He's very sardonic. And me and everyone who I know agree that he is definitely one to watch. So yeah, there's a couple of those. They're just proper grassroots, just really funny.
Yeah, I mean, at Leicester Comedy Festival, you're going to get everything from these grassroots acts, potentially performing the first ever hour show, performing potentially at the same venue as some of the best comedians currently working in the circuit. And you just had such a great opportunity to see such a wealth of fantastic acts and to maybe, if you're given that you've never heard of a chance, discover a fantastic talent who's only going to get bigger and bigger, or just someone that you really.
You just remind me. I'll chuck his name in because I really
Yeah.
should. I put him on years ago. I don't want to say how many years ago, but I always got time for Ali Woods. That's someone who I had in gigs years and years ago. He even came up to the Gloucester Comedy Festival for me 2, 3 years ago. And I've just seen him go when it comes to the social media and the live stuff and Edinburgh. So, if you haven't heard of him yet, you will.
Mm. Yes, I would very much take note of that name if you haven't heard it before. Let's take you back to the first time that you turned 22 and look at the first time you stepped onto stage. Do you remember it at all, the first time that you performed?
I'm glad to say I can remember it. And I was earlier than 22, in fact.
Oh,
I had a guitar. I was with my band. We were just about old enough to be in the pub we played. And our songs were noisy. I think we got compared to the Buzzcocks, which is just slang for they can barely play, but I like their energy.
yeah.
We had a drum machine, which in the 90s was quite a thing, inspired by bands like this. No one will know who they are unless they grew up in the 90s. Very obscure indie band that still go on today. And it was good. Yes, we played to some friends and some men and dogs. And that was the pattern of my band career for the next 12 years.
And that all changed when you started comedy.
Slowly, and does
What?
that all right? It's gone all right. What's the
Yeah.
difference now is, of course, it came about in lockdown, and within a year, I was on the TikTok discovering all that. And that was a really good introduction because it did really well. Like a lot of my little sketches and my jokes, they were really popular. Some one or two went proper viral.
Mm.
By the time I wandered onto Canal Street in Manchester for a comedy competition in January 22, most people then knew who I was, which was really
Wow.
freaky because
Yeah.
they'd, well, you're that queen who does the TikTok. I think you do some bingo somewhere, which is true. It was one of the first jobs I did as well. I was a bingo caller.
TikTok, comedy, and bingo.
I
The
can't
holy
knock a
trifecta.
bingo, can't knock a bopping bingo or a dab bingo. Very good fun.
Yeah, you have done your fair share of gigs across multiple disciplines, so I think you've probably got a few stories you can share on our next question. I would like to know one of your best gigs, one of your most memorable gigs, and also one of the worst gigs that you've done that did not go anywhere close to plan. Do you want to start on the positive note or a negative one?
Oh, what shall we do? Let's go with the bad gig, good gig. The bad gig, it's funny to talk about it because there are a number which are like, they're just bad because it was
Mm.
just the energy was very low. You didn't do anything wrong. Like nothing went horrible, but it was just dull. And you have to get used to those sometimes. You trot it out and you don't get much of an action, or you get a bit, or people come up to you afterwards and go, "Oh, that was very funny." Yeah, you might try laughing next time. That would be useful. But I do know that I did an Edinburgh show. It was, yeah, not last year, the year before. And it was to two people, which which was hard. But they actually quite liked it. I've just remembered there was one before that. That was a couple of years before that. Not an Angela show, an Andy show. And we had about 14 people there,
Mm.
which were a free fringe show in your
Oh,
early
yeah.
years. Pretty good. But they hated it. They really hated the songs. They just didn't get it. They come looking expecting I was doing comedy rap, and I think they were expecting like Dr. Dre, and they were getting Jazzy Jeff at primary school, that kind of style in an ironic way. And they were young, so I think they were too embarrassed to leave. So they
Ah,
just stayed. I'd much rather that I had done after one song, gone,
yeah.
we're in the wrong place, sorry, and just left. But yeah, awkward, awkward. That was an awkward one.
I think both of those are rites of passage, both doing the gig to two people and maybe a dog if you're lucky, and doing one to a few more, but every single one of them just doesn't want to be there. But let's move on to a more positive note. Do you have a particularly memorable gig that stands out to you?
I suppose one of my most memorable gigs, that would be last year. That was very near the start when I went on, as I mentioned, Canal Street.
Mm.
I was in a competition called The Crown, which was a drag competition at a place called The Brewers. And most of the acts, they were very good, but they were like drag queens. Like they were doing the dances and costume changes, and they were very different kind of spice to what I do because I do musical comedy and stand up, and I might do a costume change, but it's pretty basic. I've got the
Yeah.
aesthetic of a primary teacher, and that's all I could play to because I was nowhere near as skilled as them. But when it came to dropping my new songs, there was one in particular which was about being a guy I'd met in his 50s who'd been an old school raver in the 80s, and he just lived in the past. And the whole premise of the song is that everything he owns has been replaced by a mobile phone, but he still keeps it all himself because he loves carrying stuff around, which is the chorus. And I had the whole place was about 100, and largely I would say kids. There were older ones, but a lot of them, 18 to 21, doing this move I have, which is I just love carrying stuff around because you're carrying your carrier bags, and they're all shouting it and they're all carrying the bags, and I'm like, I've got something here. I found part of my draft. That was really good fun. And that led on to me doing a show, appearing in a show at Edinburgh Fringe last year with the then little, known in circuits, but nowhere else, Kate Butch, who now, of course, is top 5 on Drag Race UK this year. So I've mixed up with the best of them before they were famous.
I'm going to be honest. I've done well over a dozen of these today. Have I asked you about your comedy heroes yet?
Yes.
I
Yes.
have.
Yes,
Cool.
you have.
We shall edit that bit out. So what I've done with everybody who has come in here is I've set a little challenge. I have asked ChatGPT to come up with 10 questions based on a topic of your choice. Would you like to tell people what topic you have picked today?
I chose the games of the Sinclair Spectrum microcomputer from the 1980s because I'm thinking about doing a whole TikTok series on them next year, because why not?
Yes. So I've asked ChatGPT to create some questions on this. And I do think it has some questions related to the topic you've given it, and some it might have just seen a word and gone for it. We're going to push on and find out regardless. We've had a nice variety of topics for this. Everything from Harry Potter to Pokemon to Beyonce to glass blowing and 90s pop
Wow.
hits. Glass blowing, coincidentally, got none of it. The best score we've had so far is a 9 out of 10 on Pokemon, as opposed to a 0 out of 10 on glass blowing. How many points are you going to target?
5. Think
5.
5. Let's be. I like to be pleasantly surprised. Let's say 5. I'm now going to get 3. I know that.
5's not a bad score, but I think that's a good target to aim for. Please feel free to skip a question if you do not know it. Don't hang around for ages trying to think of the answer because you only got 60 seconds. And also, please feel free to answer the question as soon as you know the answer. You don't need to wait for me to finish the entire question. Are you ready, Angelabra, for your question?
I was ready. Press play on tape.
So let's get going. What is the name of the predecessor to the Sinclair Spectrum released in 1980?
The ZX81.
Correct. Which classic platformer released for the Sinclair Spectrum featured a character named Dizzy, an egg with boxing gloves?
What was the question?
What classic platformer released for the Sinclair
It's
Spectrum?
called Dizzy.
Yes, it is. In the game Jet Set Willy, what is the objective of the player?
To collect all the objects so you can go to bed because your wife won't let you till you've done it.
Yeah, clean up all the mess. So that's great. Which iconic isometric adventure game released for the Sinclair Spectrum in 1987 featured a wizard navigating through dungeons?
I don't think it is this one, but is it Head Over Heels?
It's not. It is Night Law. Which game, known for its challenging difficulty, involved the player navigation a space probe through caverns filled with obstacles?
Elite? Oh, Thrust.
Jetpack.
Jetpack.
Popular graphic adventure game released for various platforms, including the Sinclair Spectrum, featured Guy Bush Threepwood as the protagonist.
Oh, I know this one. It's gone. I don't know.
Your time is up, but the correct answer was The Secret of Monkey Island.
Oh, that's not on the Spectrum. That's on the Commodore Amiga. Outrageous. The Spectrum couldn't have possibly run that.
Shall we just check that with Google?
I think
It's up. Spectrum, Secret of Monkey Island.
in fairness, I had a Commodore Amiga, which is why it was familiar, but it's not a Spectrum game.
It was on the Spectrum.
Wow. Must have been made much later. I'm sticking to my guns. It needed a mouse.
According to my very brief Google anyway, which may not be correct. But it's probably where ChatGPT has pulled the question from. Was that 3 out of 10 you got correct? I believe it was.
Was it just 3? Oh dear. Never mind. ZX81, Dizzy, something else.
Yeah, ZX81, Dizzy. Oh, and yeah, player's objective in Jet Set Willy.
I'll collect the objects, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, 3 out of 10, which isn't the worst score we've had. So you can take that away. Before we leave, we do need to talk about your show at Leicester. Would you like to tell people the name, date, and location of your show? And then I'll give you a challenge to elevator pitch it to everyone watching.
Okay, so my show is on the 10th of February. It's on Saturday the 10th, and it's at 9:15 at the Kale, and it is called Angelabra Micro Rave. That's what it's called.
You have got 30 seconds to convince people to come and see Angelabra Microwave starting now.
Micro Rave is a really fun party featuring pop, puns, and parodies. It follows the adventures of me because my daughter has gone to uni and I've decided to have a kitchen disco. Being a rising star on the social medias, I've invited lots of people to come and they ring me throughout the show, tell me if they can or can't come. While that's going on, I tell you little stories. There's a lot of jokes. There's some audience interaction. In the middle, I do grate cheese to music. That has been highlighted as a standout. It was also nominated for Best Show at the Buxton Fringe this year.
And that is your time. That was perfect. Yes, come see Angelabra Microwave.
Wave. Not wave. Wave.
Micro Rave at Leicester Comedy Festival. But of course, if you can't make that show, there's plenty of other great stuff on throughout the month. So you come and see something and come and try some comedian or act that you might never have heard of before, and you will probably be pleasantly surprised. Is there any way that people can follow you, Angelabra?
Online, but not down dark alleys, as I tell them on stage. You can find me at Miss Angelabra on Instagram and TikTok, and Angelabra Comedy on Facebook for old people.
And you can also follow Late Stage Comedy on all the platforms. And you can head to either the Leicester Comedy Festival website or latestagecomedy.co.uk to find details on all the shows at the festival and to book your tickets. Please do, and please come along. But that is it for myself and Angela Arbor. So thank you very much for listening or watching, and hopefully we'll see you in February. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to the Late Stage Comedy Podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe across all of our platforms. And do head to latestagecomedy.co.uk to find out more information about our upcoming shows. And whilst you're at it, why not take a listen to another one of our great podcast episodes? Thank you very much for listening. I have been your host, John Morris, and I hope you have a lovely day, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.